Hi, readers. We are ready to continue our work today in the one and only Ivan. Things are really getting good now, right? Ivan has figured out a way to keep his promise to Ruby, keep his promise to Stella about Ruby, and he's started doing some painting at night to help her. And things are starting to come together. So, scholars, today we are working on pages 188 to 213. So, I am starting right now on page 188. If you want to follow along with me and listen to me read a section of the book today, 188, Imagining. So, at the end of our last group of chapters, right, he thought of the picture he needs to paint. It's different now when I paint. I'm not painting what I see in front of me, a banana, an apple. I'm painting what I see in my head. Things that don't exist. At least, not yet. Not Tag. I pull out Not Tag's stuffing. Carefully, I fill her with my paintings, hiding them so Mac won't sell them. She's large, bigger than Bob, but I still have to crumple a few of them. Bob tries to settle on her for a nap. You've killed her, he complains, right? Meaning Ivan ruined the stuffing, right? Ruined how comfy and cushy she was. I had to, I say. I miss your stomach, Bob admits. It's so spacious. Right, so scholars, when something's spacious, it's big, it's roomy, right? Does Ivan have a big belly? Yes. When Julia arrives, she notices that I've used up my paints and paper. Wow, Julia shakes her head. You are one serious artist, Ivan. One more thing. My finger painting has sold for $40, with frame. Mac is happy. He brings me a huge pile of paper and big buckets of paint. Get to work, he says. I paint for Mac during the day and for Ruby at night. I nap when I can. But my nighttime picture isn't quite right. It's big, that's for sure. When I place all the pieces on the floor of my cage, side by side, the cement is almost completely covered. But something is still missing. So scholars, remember, this is all part of his plan to help Ruby, to keep his promise to Stella, but we still don't quite know what he's doing. Bob says, I'm crazy. There's Ruby, he says, pointing with his nose. There's the zoo. There are other elephants. What's wrong with it? It needs one more thing, I say. Bob groans. You're being a temperamental artist. What could be missing? So temperamental means moody, right? Like temperamental meaning, you're being moody. You don't know what's quite, like nothing's making you happy about this. Right? Just relax. So he says, what could be missing? I stare at the huge expanse of colors and shapes. I don't know how to explain to Bob that it isn't done yet. I'll just have to wait, I say at last. Something will come to me, and then I'll know my painting is finally ready. So scholars, we know he's painting, right, a zoo scene. Ruby's in it. There's other elephants in it, but he still feels like there's something missing in his plan, in his painting. Page 193, the 7 o'clock show. During the last show of the day, Ruby seems tired. When she stumbles, Mac reaches for the claw stick. I tense, waiting for her to strike back. You know what it means when you tense, right? You feel your body kind of like you're waiting for something to happen. Ruby doesn't even flinch. She just keeps plodding along, and after a while, Snickers jumps onto her back. 12. I lie in my cage with Bob on my stomach. We are watching Julia do homework. She doesn't seem to be enjoying it. I can tell because she is sighing more than usual. Again, for the 100th time, or maybe the 1,000th, I wonder what is missing from my painting. And for the 100th time, or maybe the 1,000th, I don't have any answer. Dad, Julia says, as George passes by with a mop, can I ask you a question? May I? George corrects. Ask away. So grammatically correct, it would be may I ask you a question? Julia glances down at a piece of paper. What's the difference between the word spelled Principal and the one spelled Principle? The first one is the head of a school, like Miss Garcia, or scholars in our case, Miss Tuzana, right, the principal of the school. The second one is a belief that helps you know what's right or wrong. He smiles. For example, it's against my principles to do my daughter's homework for her, right? So against his beliefs. Julia groans. If I am going to be an artist when I grow up, why do I need to know how to spell? With a laugh, George heads off. Poor Julia, I think. Gorillas get by just fine without learning how to spell. All those endless letters, those sticks and circles and zigzags, filling up books and magazines, billboards and candy wrappers. Words. Humans love their words. I leap up. Bob goes flying straight into my pool. A word. You know how I feel about wet feet, Bob yells. He scrambles out of the water, shaking each foot in dismay. I look out my window at the billboard. I can still hear Mac's voice in my head. Come to the Exit 8 Big Top Mall and Video Arcade, home of the one and only Ivan, mighty Silverback. I count to 12, and then I count again, just to be sure. So scholars, before we continue, I want you to just test something out for a moment. Can you figure out what he's looking at on the billboard? So he looked at the billboard, he thought about what he always hears Max say is on the billboard, and then we know he counted to 12 and then recounted, right, to double check himself. Can you figure out what he's looking for on the billboard? Page 197. H. I lay out 16 pieces of poster board, 4 down and 4 across. A perfect square. Scholars, let's think about what that would look like. What are you up to? What are you up to? Bob demands. I'm guessing it doesn't involve sleep. It has to do with the billboard. That's signs of monstrosity, particularly since I'm not featured. I grab my bucket of red paint. You're not on the billboard because you're not in the show, I point out. Technically, I don't even live here, Bob says with a sniff. I am homeless. By choice. I know. I'm just saying. I study the billboard. Then I make 2 fat lines, like broom handles. Another fat line connects them. I stand back. What do you think? And then, scholars, you can see the picture of it. So those are his 16 big pieces of paper, right? 4 across and 4 down. So it makes a big square of 16 of them. What is it? No, wait. Let me guess. A ladder? Not a ladder, I say. A letter. At least, I think that's what they're called. I have to make 3 more. Bob cuddles up next to Not Tag. Why? He asks, yawning. Because then I'll have a word. A very important word. I dip my fingers into the paint. What word? Bob asks. Home. Bob closes his eyes. That's not so important, he says quietly. Page 200. Nervous. All day long, I knuckle walk circles around my cage. I'm so nervous I can't nap. I can't even eat. Well, not very much anyway. I'm ready to show Julia what I've made. It has to be Julia. She's an artist. Surely she'll truly look at my painting. She won't notice the smudges and tears. She won't care if the pieces don't quite fit together. She'll see past all of that. Surely Julia will see what I've imagined. I watch Ruby trudge sullenly through the 4 o'clock show, and I wonder, what will happen if I fail? What if I can't make Julia understand? So remember when we had the word trudge recently, scholars, in vocabulary, right? Walk slowly, plodding along, and she's feeling sullen, right? We've had the word sullen as well, right? You're kind of down, right? But, of course, I know the answer. Nothing. Nothing will happen. Ruby will remain the main attraction at the Exit 8 Big Top Mall and Video Arcade, conveniently located off I-95, with shows at 2, 4, and 7, 365 days a year, year after year after year. (202) Showing Julia. It's time to show my work. The mall is silent, except for Thelma the macaw, who is practicing a new phrase. Ow! Julia is finishing her homework. George is sweeping outside. Mac has gone home for the night. I grab Not Tag and carefully pull out the folded papers. So many paintings, page after page, piece after piece of my giant puzzle. I pound on my glass, and Julia glances over. Fingers trembling, I hold up one of my paintings. It's brown and green, a corner piece. Julia smiles. I display another picture, and then another, and another, and another, each one a tiny part of the whole. Julia looks confused. But what is it? She asks. She shrugs. It doesn't matter. It's pretty just as it is. Ow! Says Thelma. No, I think. No, it does matter. Scholars, that's where I'm going to stop. That gives you a little bit on your own to read today. Page 204 through 213. You'll definitely want to read that part because I think that's the best part of today's group of chapters. So be sure to check that out.